great topic that we're going to be closing with today, and that is clients changing topics. See what I did, Rory? I'm linking it all together. A great topic about a client changing topics. And this again came from you, our listeners, where you posed this question in the Facebook group. Can you give us the question and who brought that for us, Rory?
Yes, well, again, eternally grateful to Fatima Zareen. And she writes, what are the reasons a client may change the topic?
Yes. Good question.
It's a really good question. And, you know, one that happens more than you may think in the world of counselling and psychotherapy. So my thoughts on it are, you know, clients might sometimes be not ready to talk about the issue. You know, trust needs to be built. You know, we've talked, you know, a little bit about the relationship earlier in the podcast. And, you know, once that relationship's built, people feel safe. You know, a lot of counselling and psychotherapy is about safety. It's about trust. And if a client has come from a place, I think, where there hasn't been safety and trust, it might take them a little while to feel safe. You know, you can't underestimate that, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm kind of trying to read into this of trying to see it as an example, maybe in therapy, where a client might be bringing some material and we might reflect back on that as a therapist, and then the client might run away from the feelings. So, I'm mindful that sometimes often clients are bringing really heavy emotional stuff that is hurtful and painful to visit. And what we're doing is we're expecting them to sit in the pain, and it's human nature to run from that pain and to go to a position of safety and change that topic. And I don't want to look at that right now. And I think it's about patience. I think it's about time. And it's also about the modality. I mean, if you're working in person-centered, as a person-centered therapist, then we follow the client rather than expecting them to stay on the topics that we think are important, and they will get there. I think was it John Schilling, Rory, who says that it's about patience and trust that the client will go there. They will find their way to where they need to be. However, there needs to be a threat-free environment.
Indeed. And the reason I was laughing, Ken, is that obviously we think so much alike. I've got a bit of a quote from Schleen, one of my favourites, and I'll share this with you because I think it's so important in client work. And John M. Schlein, spelled Schlien, John M. Schlein, was a student of Carl Rogers, and he wrote down his principles of therapy. And one of his principles is this, and I'm going to read it out to you. Everyone knows everything. This is not a theory of knowledge. It is you, we know everything about ourselves. There may be defenses, denials, cover-ups, secrets, faults, and overloads in memory, but we know we are the ultimate source. So deeply phenomenological and a universal truth in therapy. You will see all of those played out in the therapy room with clients. Denials, cover-ups, lapses of memory. Yeah. But underneath it all, clients know their own truth. And part of therapy, the big part of therapy, certainly in person-centered therapy, is that the client walks towards that truth. And some choose to do so, and some don't.
And in their time, at their pace, when they are ready, in a threat-free environment where trust has been built and they feel safe to be able to visit that, it's a big ask. It is really a big ask. And there can be an expectation that we have of a client. You know, a client may be presenting, and in their first session, they may present with an overview of the story that they're bringing. We may be able to go, wow, there's some real areas that are worth visiting here. But it's not for us to lead them to those areas. It's for the client to go there. And they may not go there in all the time they come to us. They may not be ready, but that is their choice. And our job as certainly, as you mentioned, Rory, as a person-centered therapist, is to just be patient and go with them wherever they choose to go. And of course, we use our skills. We use our skills to maybe invite rather than direct. We can invite the client to look at something. So if a client may bring a sentence, and within that sentence, they may touch on the emotion that they're feeling. They may say, I was scared, I was frightened, I was hurt, I was devastated, whatever that is. And we may reflect back and say, when I hear that, I can't help but hearing those words that you mentioned. You were devastated. And that's inviting them to go back and maybe expand on that, but they may not. They may say, yes, I was. Anyway, I think after I leave here today, I'm going to go and do blah, blah, blah. And they run away from that. And that is their right to do so. They're not ready in their time.
Yeah, I mean, a respectful challenge, something like a reflection of, I'm aware that when I mention that, you talk about something else.
Ooh.
Is and an affirmation, so that's high challenge, and the high supports that affirmation, saying, I realise that might be really difficult for you, and also it's about wisdom, it's about counsellor wisdom, when to challenge.
Oh yes.
Not I always think it's a little bit like. And there's a really good example of this about a parachute jump, tandem parachute jumping.
Yeah.
And there was a story about someone, a senior person, shall we say, wanted to do a parachute jump. When they got into the aeroplane, they didn't want to do it, and the parachutist just threw them out. Just literally, they were strapped together and just jumped out. And the person was struggling so much, they nearly got out of the harness.
Ouch.
And there cannot be a better example, a graphic example of what happens when a therapist does exactly that, pushes the client out of the metaphorical plane and into their fears, because that's what happens. People will try and escape, and we have to be very careful of that. So wisdom and timing is massively important.
I like what you said there, Rory. And as you were bringing that topic, I was doing the ooh, because such an interesting topic. You're 100% right in that we are there. I mean, the very nature of therapy is a nature of challenge. And if we look at person-centered therapy, we speak about incongruence. The client running away from those feelings, running away from that hurt is a great example of that incongruence, because that's kind of what they're coming for, but yet they run away from that. They want to work on it, yet it's frightening to go there. And what you said there is it's about that challenge, high support with high challenge, and at the right time. And it's unlikely that you might go there on the first session or the second session with the client. And that wisdom to be able to gauge where the client is, see where they're at, read their body language, read the relationship, feel the depth of that relationship before bringing that challenge in. Advanced skills.
It's advanced skills, and also it really does link to boundaries, I think.